Welcome to the It's Not That Deep podcast, brother.
What's up?
Diego Luca, super yacht broker, artist, DJ, and recently a TikTok influencer too. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me. I mean, we're in your apartment right now. Beautiful, eclectic, crazy, and I felt like I was dressed in too much black.
Well, we added some color that one.
Absolutely. I love it, man. Thank you so much for being on the show, man. You are one of the most interesting people I know. And there's a million places we could start this podcast. We could focus on the yachts, the artistry and everything. But I want to start with your origin story, bro. Where did it all start for Mr. Diego Luca?
Wow. Well, everything started so that's why I'm Diego from San Diego, right? So everything started in San Diego. And really, I mean, never in a million years that I think I was going to be in yachting, right? Everything started by me starting a car wash business. So I went to the auction. So a friend of mine had this idea about, starting a car wash. And so him and I started washing cars at his house. And then everyone would basically come by and drop off their cars. And then there was a time where, he decided not to do it anymore. And, so I thought it was a good idea. And I went to the auction, bought a minivan, and put all my equipment in there. And pretty much before that, what I was doing is I was a driver for an auto glass company.
Okay.
And then at night, I was a busser at Applebee's. So, I mean, a lot of people might not know what Applebee's is, or maybe they do. But I was so from 9 to like 4:30, I was a delivery driver for auto glass. And then 4:30, I used to get out, and then I used to go in at 6 o'clock at Applebee's, and I would work from 6 to like 11:30, and just bussing tables. And I would do that every day, pretty much. And that's kind of how it all started. And I had something that really changed the course of my life. And it was a girlfriend that I was dating. She had a freak accident. She was going to Long Beach State, and she was kind of like my high school sweetheart. And when I graduated, we were still dating. And when there was a time where she was driving down from Long Beach, so we can go out to Mexico and go out.
How long's that drive?
That drive is about an hour and a half,
Okay.
maybe about 2 hours, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And when she was driving down, I got a call that from one of her friends that she had an accident. And of course, when you get that call, you think it's just a regular regular accident, maybe car-to-car crash. But, when I got there, unfortunately, she passed away on scene.
Yeah.
And so when that happened, pretty much changed everything I was doing. I was going to a community college at the time in San Diego. And
What were you studying?
I was just going for... I was going for just general and also for business.
Okay.
And I was also taking, singing classes just for fun. And so when that happened, I pretty much just stopped everything. I mean, I was dating her for about 3 years, and like anyone that believes in those stories about meet cute and being with someone that you see yourself for the rest of your life. That was kind of my mentality then. I thought I found someone that I was going to spend the rest of my life with.
It's a major perspective shift, man.
Yeah.
At what age? How old were you?
I was 20 years old.
20 years
Yeah,
old.
20 years old.
That'll shape things.
She was 18. She was 18. Yeah. So, yeah. So that when that happened, I mean, really changed everything for me. I quit my job. Both jobs I quit, and then I quit going to school. So I wasn't sure what I was gonna do, and pretty much so there were 5 people in the car, and the only person that passed away was her. So when that happened, I was kind of like shut down. I wasn't really doing anything. And one of the girls that was in the car, she reached out to me and invited me with her family to spend some time and kind of just get back to life. And so when I did that, her father had a car wash business, and he had a mobile car wash, right? So then I just started going out and washing cars with him. And then that's when everything kind of, happened. I was like, well, maybe I should open a car wash. So then that's when I went back, drove back to San Diego, bought a van, put everything in there, and pretty much started going door to door. Hey, for regular cars, $15. For medium cars, $25. For an SUV, huge truck, is $35. Man, I remember the first time. Because when you're starting, right, you just wanna get some business. So I go to this office, and she totally took advantage, man. It was like I was like, hey, do I remember this car like it was yesterday? It was a Ford Mustang, and she was like, oh yeah, I was like, and it was, dude, $15. I charged her $15. I swear this car, it looked like she went to the Baja 1000. It was so bad. It was so bad. It looked like she'd been through the drive-thru of McDonald's probably 100 times. And it was like my first car that I washed. And I was like,
what am I doing?
Shit. I was like, do I really want to do this? I was like, dude, $15. But I went for it. And it took me probably about 3 hours and a half, like, to just throw everything out. But guess what? I did it. And she said, hey, can you come back every week? And then all of a sudden I had a client.
Boom, you had a consistent client.
So then I had a consistent client. So that, that worked out. And slowly, I started meeting, people that saw that I was a hard worker. and slowly the people that I was washing cars for, they were talking to me like, hey, what are you doing? Because I was 20 years old. So one of the guys that kind of, I think what you do growing up, especially when you don't have somebody that's kind of like, I didn't grow up with my mom or dad, so I didn't really have a mentorship. So I feel like sometimes if you're smart, then you try to find that mentorship from other people.
Yeah, it's almost like you choose your new family that's going to shape you and what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
And so what I did, pretty much I try to find people that I could learn from, and really whenever I found someone that I felt like could add value to what I was doing, I would let them know that, hey, what are your thoughts? What should I do? I just kind of, and so he said, like, you know what, Diego, what you should do is don't do anything per week. Have everyone per month.
Monthly. That's
monthly.
the first thing. To that. It's like, so if you're making $60 a month, put this girl on a weekly.
So then I started, everyone, it was like, hey, I'm going to be here every Monday. I'm going to be here every Tuesday. I'm going to be here Wednesday, Thursday. Dude, I would just literally, when I was working as a driver and working at Applebee's, as a driver, I think at the time I was making $7.25 an hour. And, I was working 8 hours, 9 hours. And I was like, shit, if I wash a car every 30 minutes, that's double that I pretty much more than double that I would get paid.
Yeah.
So my goal was to wash at least 2 cars an hour. That was like what I was pushing for. And then I started learning like you can sell, you can sell to like detailing,
detailing,
like all this. So then, so that was like, shit,
yeah.
I could make $100 an hour, 200. So like as a detail, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And so that's kind of, how it started. And then what I used to do is I used to go to hair salons, and while people were getting their hair done, I would wash their cars. So this took me to a guy that was getting a haircut, and he's like, hey, I'm going to this charity event. And of course I would pick like the high end places. Right. So, but this was my first client that actually, had an exotic car. And I had no idea. He's like, hey, so here are the keys. And I grabbed it. It was a brand new Lamborghini. And I remember I came out and I was like, holy shit. I was like,
are you freaking out?
I was like, what? I had never even seen one close. I've never even been on one. And so imagine a 20-year-old, getting on a brand new Lambo. I remember I went to my van and I even grabbed all the new stuff, like the new soap.
I'm not going to use it.
I'm not. Yeah. So I was like, I grabbed all the new stuff, and I was just like, and I was just like, what maybe a 20-year-old kid does is, wow, like, what do you think about? You think about driving it or maybe taking a girl out, or something like that. So, I mean, I just washed the car, and, 2 weeks later, the guy called me and said, hey, you did a great job. Do you mind coming back? And, I have a collection of cars. So I go to his house, and he's like, these are, come every Thursday, just take care of all these cars. And then I learned that he had a membership club. So then he charged a membership fee per year, and you can drive this different exotic car. So
he would let other people drive these cars for a fee, and he had like a fleet of them, kind of like Turo before Turo.
Yeah.
All right.
So like it was kind of like a timeshare for luxury cars.
Got it.
So if somebody came into San Diego for business, or maybe it was someone that didn't have all the cars, but they wanted to.
They wanted to flex.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
So then. And I was like, okay. So then I learned about the memberships, and I said, wow, one day I want to work for this guy, So I just kept working, and
at this point, did you drop the other cars? Because you're like, what? I'm going to focus on this luxury guy. Or were you still hustling?
No. I was still doing the other one.
Okay.
I was still like, cause I had my days, right? So Monday I was here, Tuesday here, Wednesday. Dude, I would put my headphones on, and I would just go. I would get two,
And you were a one-man army? You never had like any of your boys or anyone come out, help you out?
It's funny you say that. So, so we're in San Diego, right? San Diego is not like Florida. I mean, San Diego gets pretty cold at times.
Okay.
And man, in the mornings, you go out and wash cars, your hands would be like just, you couldn't feel your hands.
That's funny.
So I have my brother, his name's Ernie. And so when he was then going to school, I said, hey, Ernie, dude, come and help me out. I'm getting like, and then he went one day, dude, in the morning, he couldn't feel his hands. And then he's like, hey, bro, I can't do it.
Fuck this shit.
And then every time he will go out, he's like, and then he's like, no, man. He's like, let's take some warm water so we can put it in the bucket before. So like, we started doing that. But yeah, I mean, that was the only time that I had someone, help me. And then as time went by, then I, always the goal was like, how can I get into working for this guy? And the chance came up when a girl quit, and they needed help taking cars to a golf tournament. And I remember he called me, he's like, hey, do you know how to drive stick? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, well, I'm going to teach you how to drive the Lambo because tomorrow we got to go to this golf tournament and we got to take all these cars. And I'm like, holy shit. And I remember
This was your big break.
this
man.
was the big break. And it was, I remember I went to bed and I couldn't even sleep. It was like the first, like when you're a kid and they're going to take you to Disneyland for the first time and you just can't, you're so excited. So in the morning, I called him, I asked him what I had to wear. He's like, oh, just wear black pants, black shoes, and I have a shirt for you. Well, I got so excited. I took my black shoes and I put it on top of the car and I drove off.
Oh, shit, yeah.
So I'm like, I drove off. So like when I get there, I couldn't find my shoes. I was like, fuck, dude, this is the first time. So like, he's like, don't worry, so he gave me some some shoes. So then we get ready and it's like early. And I mean, I don't know if you ever been in a convoy of like exotics or any type, even if you're just driving with your friends and you're just kind of like playing around.
It's easy to lose people. It's like, yeah.
But imagine being a 20-year-old and you have never stepped foot on a Lambo ever.
And you're going to want to punch it.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden we were about 10 exotic cars in the freeway, just going like, and not only that, I remember turning on the radio and on the radio, it was Gypsy Kings. Like, and I play guitar. I love the Gypsy Kings. So when I turned on the radio and it was the Gypsy Kings, plus I'm driving a Lambo, I was just yelling.
You're
like,
high on life,
yeah, I was
bro.
like, I was just going crazy. Like, like Lambos were passing me and I was like, this is unreal. I said, there's no way.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it all started.
Yeah.
And I get to the golf tournament. Of course, the whole purpose of the golf tournament was for you to sell memberships. So my job still at the time was to only keep the cars clean. So what I did is, each hole had a car and they would talk about the membership program. Well, there was a guy that was asking about the membership and no one was there representing the company. So then I jumped in and they're like, hey, what is this thing all about? And I said, hey, well, there's 3 types of memberships. There's this, and this. And with this membership, you get this, with this, and this.
So that's when you learned that you're good at sales.
Yeah. I mean, I think I knew I was good with people. And also I never had an agenda behind doing something. Whenever I did something was because I believed in it. And also it was because I wanted to be part of it. So like I never did something to just take advantage of other people. I always had the best interest
to actually help people.
To help, yeah.
And like connect the dots.
Connect the dots.
Yeah.
And not just like, because to me, I saw the opportunity to do something bigger. And so I just wanted to be, part of it. So when that happened, the guy asked me for, all the information. So I called the guy and I said, hey, this guy's interested in this membership. And he said, who's there? And I said, no one. I said, I was the one that told him. So come back. And I sold the top membership.
Nice.
And,
That's
and so he's like, so at the end, he's like, we'll talk after the golf tournament's over. He's like, you got to come work for me. And then I was
Fuck,
like,
man.
fuck.
It's like you manifested that
Yeah,
shit, bro. You literally put that out in the universe. You work your ass off and you made it happen, bro. I love stories like that because my upbringing with immigrant parents and whatever, like I learned the value of hard work at a young age. And like my version of that story was delivering newspapers in the Canadian winter. I delivered the flyers to people.
Yeah.
I had like 200 houses. And I remember I was like, some of these houses are fucking nice houses, man. I want to like meet the people who own it.
Yeah.
And like, there's not to make this like, but like I remember doing that and working so hard and being able to be so consistent, so on time.
Yeah.
Get these people the paper for like fucking $20. I made no money. I was slave labor if you actually look at it now. But I met some people and like I remember that they would always tell me like, this is how you get a job and this is how you run a business and this and that. And like, I love hearing that type of story because, you literally went through this fucking shitty event.
Yeah.
Really, like, most people would just take that and just shut down and be like, call it quits. You know, I lost my love.
Yeah.
You took that, reset,
Yeah.
found this car washing thing, and you're like, you know what? Some of these people got money, and like, you learn sales, you learn hard work, discipline, waking up early, cleaning people's cars.
Yeah.
I love that story a lot, man.
Thank you. And I feel like there's, you know, especially now, I mean, I don't think there's a lot of people that take the time to really understand, you know, where someone comes from, or, you know, what is it that they do. And it's interesting because a lot of people in my industry in yachting, they probably, you know, they grew up, maybe the family had a boat, or they grew up at a place that gave them access to yachts, and they kind of just grew up, you know, learning or seeing that lifestyle. But not until I was maybe 24 years old did I see my first boat, you know. So like, I had no idea about even yachting, you know, and so it was pretty crazy to get into the industry. You know, of course, it started with...
Well, that's what I want to ask you next, bro, is, you know, obviously there's probably a lot of filling in the blanks between this and getting there, but how'd you get into the yachting world, bro? That's the question everyone wants to know. How'd you get into the space?
Well, it's, so I'm, you know, so now we're in the part where I sell membership, and I start working for this company. And at the time, this company only did cars. You know, it was all exotic cars. And as the membership grew, so, you know, one step back. So I just started working for this company. My business card was just my name. Then 3 months later, the owner made me the VP of operations for the company. So now I had just turned 21, and I just moved into his spare home where he kept all these cars. And my job as a 21-year-old was to drive these cars every day and take them to the hottest nightclubs every weekend. So, I mean, it was like I won the fucking lottery.
Yeah.
It was like, holy shit. I mean, I had just turned 21, but of course I was very, I wouldn't say I was mature, because still, like, you know, whenever people weren't looking, I was still that 21-year-old. Mm-hmm. But when people were looking, I had to act like I was 30. Right. And
like you knew what you were talking about, like you've been in the game.
And that's something that I learned fast, that, you know, the guy I was working for, he's like, Diego, he's like, you don't have the experience, but whenever you're dealing with these type of clients, you need to act like you've
Fake
been
it
there.
Till you make it.
You've been there, you've done it, and otherwise they're not going to respect you. And they're going to be like, why is this guy delivering me exotic cars? Or why is this guy even the VP of operations? So I learned fast, and I just kind of put in the hard work, and I was always, you know, kind of, you know, on top of it. You know, I was dealing with these clients, and that's where I got all the experience of dealing with high-end clients and knowing what they want, what they don't want, and what can go wrong, you know, what goes right. So that I learned at at early stages of the, you know, my career in the luxury industry. So to tell you how I got into yachting, so I started the cars, and then those members also had jets. So then I remember I got on my first jet, which is, that alone can probably be another hour, right? So like, I mean, it's like, I remember going on my first private plane. I was like, holy shit, right? And then I went on my first helicopter ride. I was like, holy shit. So like, all of a sudden you start adding all these little things. And then because I was the VP of operations, I was also doing events. So guess what does a 22-year-old want to do? I mean, they want to go party. So guess what? I started finding the best parties in Southern California. And where does a 22-year-old want to go? To the Playboy Mansion. So guess what? I reach out to some of the top people that were doing events at the Playboy Mansion. And I said, hey, I'm the VP of operations of this membership club. Can we do a partnership so we can go to the Playboy Mansion? Duh. So we did this partnership where I'm like, and I told the owner, I said, look, we provide cars, some hours on helicopters, some hours on jets, and we take all of our members to the Playboy Mansion. Are you in? Yeah. It's like, yeah. So next thing you know, guess what? We're doing 3 events a year at the Playboy Mansion. Fuck it. I mean, are you kidding me? It's like, what? And then I wanted to go to the Grammys. So then I put together something so we can go to the Grammys. Oscar. So like everything I wanted to do, I would basically put it together for the members.
So not only were you doing the managing this, like, whatever, CEO of like this,
like timeshare
membership,
toys.
luxury cars. Then it got into helicopters and planes, but then it got into like, well, why not explore this other vertical of experiences and events? Okay, so that makes a lot of sense because like the same type of people who are getting one thing are gonna want everything, and they'd rather deal with one person than dealing with 7 different.
Exactly.
Exactly. I got you.
So then now I'm the VP of operations of this membership club. Also, I'm putting together events for my clients, putting together experiences. And now I'm learning, about the trade because some members, they would say, hey, Diego, can you tell him that I'll give him a few hours on my helicopter if he gives me a few hours on his yacht? I'll give him a few hours on the jet if he gives me a few hours on. So then now I was the middleman.
You're like brokering
all these guys.
That's like a weird barter exchange.
Yeah. So then I was learning to not only to barter luxury toys, but also to learn about the different types of personalities
and the values of each thing, right?
Yeah.
Like that's very interesting.
So then I've worked for this company for about 5-6 years. And I mean, imagine now that you know a little bit of the, behind, the story. So imagine I go from delivering auto glass to Applebee's, being a busser, to going through that,
that come up.
And also, I mean, and dealing with what happened to my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And so now I went from that to now starting a business washing cars. And now from that, I go to literally what somebody that would become a multi-millionaire. I had the lifestyle of somebody had pretty much had just won the lottery, pretty much. Because I had access to 11 exotic cars, jets, yachts, helicopters. And of course, what comes with that? Beautiful women. And I was 22 years old. So it was like a dream. And it was nuts. It was nuts. So when that, and when that happened, of course, I thought that was going to last forever. But we learned that nothing lasts forever, right? And so in 2008, 2009, when the market crashed, people stopped paying their dues. People stopped paying their membership. And we were in a position where the owner of this company was not able to keep all these assets or all these luxury toys. And
because that shit's expensive, and it only works if everyone's actually buying and continuing to spend.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that you cut out of your budget.
Exactly.
Is the toys and the fun and the stupid luxury
first
spending.
thing. And it was like, so then all of a sudden I started seeing a big shift of like, well, I started seeing how he was stressing about money and, how, this was not going to go well. And so for the last 5-6 years, I hadn't for the last 5-6 years, I hadn't spent any money, right? Because I was working with him and I was living at his house. And so then when he got into trouble, what I did is I was so thankful that for the last 5-6 years, he had given me access to a lifestyle that I could have never experienced ever. So I think in the 5-6 years, I think I probably lived at least 2 to 3 lifetimes because the stuff that we got to do and the experiences was just out of this world. So what I did is I said, look, I have all this money saved up. I haven't spent any money. And, I have credit, right? So I said, look, why don't we become partners? And, I'll put in my credit, I'll put money. Well, that was the stupidest idea. I lost everything probably in about 2-3 months, right? So then this is where the story gets more interesting. So now I come from car wash to now working for this company for 5-6 years and living, a fairy tale of a lifestyle. And now I'm left with maybe about $200 in my pocket.
Holy shit.
So
rock bottom. And I remember I was talking to the owner of the company and pretty much like, hey, so what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, one, I don't have any more credit. I don't have anything. Really, I had no credit cards. I had nothing. And and he was going through a very, very tough time, and so I said, what do I do? Do I go back to washing cars? Do I become a promoter for a nightclub? Do I didn't know what to do. So literally it's the last day I'm at the office and, he has his box, like pretty much just, the office is empty and a phone call comes in and it's somebody that wants to rent a car. And he's like, hey, I want to rent a car for a week. And I said, oh, we don't rent cars. We sell a membership. So then but then there, the light turned on. I'm like, well, I know people that own cars, right? Yeah. So
I already have all these contacts. Why don't I rent her the car and make a commission out of it? So then I remember she had no insurance, no credit card, but I had nothing to lose. I had $200 in my pocket and I literally had nothing to lose.
Let me just broker this fucking deal.
Yeah.
And just make it happen at all costs.
And there, something, that I never shared. At this time, I had nowhere to live. So during this time, it was when the whole real estate bubble, just collapsed. So then there was all these houses in foreclosure. So then I was living at this empty house that basically was foreclosed, and it just had a bed, and it had and I had a suitcase, and pretty much I was just sleeping there until that house was sold at auction.
Oh my
and then
God!
I would be like staying at these houses that were foreclosure. And basically, when the bank sold them, I would go to another house that was foreclosed. Damn. And that's basically what I was doing.
I did not know that, bro.
It was crazy.
Wow, what a fucking roller coaster that is, man. Like, not only like experiencing the high life, seeing with luxury, the girls, the boats, everything, but then having to sleep on a mattress in a foreclosed.
It was not something that I thought like I would be doing, especially after the experience I had. At this point,
were you like, fuck, I guess I just got to get like a job? Like, were you applying for jobs? Were you
so when this happened, I was living rent free, right? And the guy that's
one way to put it.
I was living rent free because I didn't have to pay any rent because these houses were foreclosed. And I mean, this guy still kind of would help me a little bit with food and things like that. But of course, he kept pushing like, hey, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Because in a way, he felt responsible, because he used my credit. He used all the, but like, he didn't
So
have.
there wasn't like, not to pry, I don't like need to know details, but like this partnership that like, I guess didn't work out or whatever, like, you know, at the end of the day, it wasn't bad blood. It was just bad business.
It wasn't any bad blood because I do not regret anything, and I've learned to not hold any grudges, and if something goes wrong, I pretty much just take the best out of it and I move on. And can I hold a grudge against them for giving me the best 6 years, 7 years of my life? Something that I could have never probably experienced in my 20s. Like, holy I mean, it was crazy. And so if he watches the podcast, then no, I don't have anything against him. If he still wants to pay me back my money, cool. It was probably maybe about 60, still owes me about 60,000. So if you're watching, you can wire me the money. We'll talk.
Y'all can have dinner, work it out. You heard it here first. You have a fucking crazy story, man. This is just so wild to me, hearing that crazy journey of experiencing the luxury, experiencing everything. This whole thing with your partner, whatever, everything that happened there. And then being in like foreclosed homes. What's the gap then? How do you fucking pick the pieces back up and then move into where you are now, man?
Well, I think it has to do with just, if there's one thing that I feel that changed things was that I was never, even though I was in bad situations, I was never the type of person that showed how bad I was. And I feel like that, and this I did this without even knowing that this is the way you're supposed to do it. Because there's a lot of people out there that need help. We're human, and a lot of people grow up with not a lot of opportunities and not a lot of access to things, or maybe not the lifestyle that they wanted. And I think a good lesson to take from what I did is that whenever I was in a bad situation, I was in a very bad spot, I was never someone that was asking, hey, wow, I need help, right?
You're never a victim.
I was never the victim. More like I needed help, a lot of help. I was in a very, very bad situation. But instead of me crying poor and crying like, hey, I need help, please, I was more like, how can I add value? How can I add value to this? How can I add value to this person? So then it doesn't look like I'm asking them, but more like
they want to give.
They want to give me because I'm adding value. I'm adding something to whatever it is that they're doing. So then that's kind of how I did it, right? So like I had a person that I was worried was like, hey, if you ever need a driver, I can drive for you. Like if you want to go out to the clubs, I'll be your driver. So then I'll be driving. If you need this. So then that's kind of how I started. I could have gone back to washing cars. I could have went, been a promoter in a nightclub or things like that. But what I decided to do is take everything I learned from the last 5-6 years, from exotic cars and jets and yachts and helicopters, and add that to my what I was doing. So that now anybody that would ask me and say, hey, Diego, do you know who I can charter a yacht from? Yes. Do you know who I can charter a jet from? Yes. Helicopter. So then all of a sudden, I became that. I used to tell people that I was like their GT, which is their go-to, right?
I love it.
I'm your go-to. Whatever you need, I'm your GT. Like, I'm your go-to person.
We all need those people, especially people who don't live in your city or is not as connected.
Yeah.
They all need a guy who's just going to, yo, Diego, bro, do you know someone who could get me in here? Do you know someone who could get me this, get me that?
And there's a huge need for that. And there's a huge market because there's a lot of people out there, especially now, that are, that are new money. There's a lot of new money out there. There's people that are selling, stuff on the internet or apps or, things that these people probably never experience or know how to charter a yacht, buy a jet, or buy a yacht, or even buy a car, or even buy a house for that matter. So then all these people need someone that they can trust. So, and it kind of sucks because there's a lot of people out there that take advantage of people like this.
Because it's just a transactional thing for them.
And they don't see it as a relationship. Yeah, they just kind of see it like, sometimes I get these calls from guys and there's like, hey man, this guy just sold his company and he has a bunch of money. He's like, can you do this, and this, and can we mark it up? And I'm like, no, I'd rather not do that, but work with the guy for 10 years because he recognized that I took care of him. Yeah, and it's just like, whenever I see someone that just is an opportunist that is trying to kind of take advantage of a client, I mean, I'm not going to change his mind, right? It's his client, but also I wouldn't put my name on something like that because if that guy somehow sees that I was involved in this transaction and this guy tries to, now I'm burned because he's like, oh, okay, because I got it from Diego Luca, or there's no way. So,
and then he tells his friends.
Yeah.
And then it's just a whole.
And then all of a sudden, that guy that was trying to mark things up or was trying to take advantage of that client, now, if he wanted to, he could be like, oh, no, he's the one that marked it up. It's like, so I try to learn who the client is, what is the thing, and also try to make it fair because whoever is bringing me or introducing me to a client, yes, they deserve to make some money because they probably had to be in a place where I wasn't. They probably, met this guy through another contact. Somehow, because of what they did, they got this contact. Now, that doesn't mean that just because they got that contact, they should take advantage.
No.
They should just see it and be transparent because people with money, they're not stupid. They know people are making money off of them, but you can be fair and you can be like, look, yes, I make money off of everything you do because I have the contacts and this is what I do.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't have to be a slimy, sleazy thing where I'm taking advantage of you just because you have some money.
Exactly.
Yeah, because that's the type of people who just go for the short-term win. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And those people never actually win.
No. And sometimes they might win once or twice.
Yeah.
But guess what? If that client, once he starts learning how to do these things by himself, and these clients go out all the time and they might meet another promoter, they might meet another concierge, and they're going to get to the point where they're going to see, shit, this guy's been fucking me all this time. And that's when they decide to go somewhere else and they decide to start working with someone else. So I learned that from the beginning. And I never, when you're in this industry, when you're doing anything in this type of market where you're dealing with very, very high-end clients, your reputation is all you got, and if you mess that up, it's very hard to come back.
100%. So talk to me about the first yacht transaction that you were involved in and what that was like.
Wow. Well, man, I gotta take a drink, but cheers.
Cheers, brother. Appreciate it, man.
This is good, man.
Yeah, man.
Man, this is good.
Love it, man. It's that spicy.
It's spicy.
Shit.
Yeah,
That's good shit.
But so if we go a little back And now we're back to the time that I was now offering my service. Like if you want access to yachts, to
Almost
just
freelancing.
just
connecting
freelancing,
dots,
just connecting the dots. So I remember there was someone that I knew and said, "Oh my God, I was on this yacht yesterday, and it has a helicopter pad." And I'm like, "What?" I was like, "What?" So then I was like, "I want to meet the owner." And he's like, "Do you have his number?" He's like, so she gives me his number, and I start reaching out to this guy, and now he's one of my best friends, right? But and I've told this story, he just laughs about it. So holy shit.
I feel like we got a good one.
It's too good, man. It's just too good. So then so he, he's pretty, he's young, he was like, mid-20s, and man, he was a pilot, his dad is a pilot, and they had this yacht with the helipad, and it was the only yacht in Southern California with a helipad. And at the time this yacht was not, they had just built it. They had just done a refit, and it was kind of brand new. They were starting a wine company at the time. And so then I heard about this guy, and I would text him, call him. I was like, "Hey, if you ever want to go to this party," I was just trying to talk to this guy. He never got back to me, never would answer, nothing. So, fuck. So then I just started telling people that I managed it. So then it was this yacht with, it's 145 feet with the helipad. And I would go out and I would just be like, "Hey, if you ever want to charter this boat, call me."
You didn't even know the owner.
I didn't even know the owner. He wouldn't even answer my calls. But I just like, I was like, I just,
What do you have to lose?
what did I have to lose?
Yeah.
So guess what? The time came and somebody called me and said, "Hey man, I heard you manage this boat. I want to charter it." And I was like, "Holy shit." I was like, "Fuck." I was like, "So what am I going to do now?"
Yeah.
I was like, fuck. So then I called him and I said, I had no idea. But I went online and I researched what a yacht like that would charter for. And the yacht would charter for something like 25, 35,000 or something. 25,
for like
30.
a weekend?
No, for a day.
For a
day.
day.
So then I just called him and I said, so I told him, the guy that called me charter it. I'm like, "Hey, yeah. Let me get back to you. Let me just talk to the owner and I'll come back to you." And so I called the owner again and I'm like, "Hey," I said, "I have this guy." I remember the client was from Vegas. And I said, "I have this guy who wants to charter this boat and he's willing to pay cash." Did he tell me he was willing to pay cash? No. But, cash sounds good, right?
Yeah,
so I'm
of course.
I'm like, shit. I'm like, he's going to pay cash. He's just going to use the yacht for 4 hours and you're going to pay cash. So, fuck. Day goes by, nothing. No callback. Next day, he calls me. He's like, "Hey, man." He's like, "I'm sorry, I've just been busy." It's been a year, bro. Like,
It's been
a year. And then he's like, "Yeah, I heard you have a charter." He's like, "So what's," he's like, "Hey, well, I'm gonna put you in touch with my captain." And I don't know why I said this, because I probably could have just worked with the captain. But I said, "Look, I've been in this industry for quite some time, and I said I'm used to talking to owners." I said, "So do you have some time that we can get together?" So that same day, he's like, "Hey, let's meet in La Jolla." And this is in San Diego. He's like, "Let's meet in La Jolla," and we literally just went to this like Mexican restaurant. And so we're talking, and he's telling me about what his family does, and he's the family bought a vineyard in Malibu, and now he's and that's kind of what he's doing. But the yacht is kind of his dad's project, but yeah, so we made the connection there. The 2 days later, the charter happens, and I give him the money, and I said, look, here's the money, and just know that these are the type of clients that I can bring you.
Boom.
And so if you ever, I would like to keep working with you and maybe manage the boat. So he called me 2 days later, and he's like, hey, I spoke to my dad, and do you want to charter a boat? Boom!
Boom. I love that story, man.
Oh, so next thing you know, it started as a working relationship.
Yeah.
And then this guy's cool, man. I mean, you guys are probably gonna meet him one day. I'll probably do a video with him. And I remember one day he called me, and he lived in the cool area in San Diego, and he called me one day. He's like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, so he's like, well, I'm having a little something at my house. He's like, if you want to come by, bring a bottle of tequila. I'm like, I'm there, So then from there, we kind of connected, and we started hanging out. And I started helping him and his family, chartering the boat and kind of building those experiences. Now, I could go on, and there's a lot of different stories from just that, landing on the yacht for the first time, one story that can probably people would be interested in considering. So I'll have a drink before that one.
100%, man.
But, yeah. Okay. This one, I just feel like probably people want to hear it because it was one of the first times that I chartered a yacht for Dan Bilzerian.
Okay.
So now this is not me trying to talk about Dan so we can get more views. So if you think that, then go to the next video.
It's a real story.
This is a real story. This is just a proper, real story. So one, Dan, and you probably is going to love this, but the first time I chartered yacht for Dan, I get a call from the marina that he has about 11 girls running topless in the marina. So of course, that's not okay, right? You got people with it's just people. It's like, and this guy just took over,
Where was this?
This was in Marina del Rey. This is in LA.
Okay.
And so then that was one incident, but again, he was fun, So then we have another instance where it was actually my birthday, and called them and said, hey man, we're going to take the yacht out, for my birthday. Do you want to come out? And he brought a bunch of friends, and the whole point was we were going to land in the helicopter on the yacht. So if anybody's familiar with LA, and not to mention, the COVID thing, but fog is a big problem. And my friend when he put on his, pilot, when he was going to be a pilot, he was on it. He was no bullshit, locked in. When he was my friend and he was not in the helicopter, he was a different person. When he got in helicopter pilot mode, it was like,
okay, you can't fuck around. Because now you're playing with not only your own life, but other people's lives, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
So he was, he was always on it. So I always felt safe, and dude, that alone, I have maybe 100 stories of us flying. Cause we used to fly 3-4 times a week, from San Diego to Malibu, and we have some stories is there, but this story, so we, of course, so when Dan, he was living in San Diego, and we met him right before he just blew up. We used to go and hang down. So I was like, before he blew up, we met him, and he used to do this, helicopters and go to the desert and shoot, and I used to help him with some of that stuff. And then there's actually a video out there where they're doing a little documentary on him, and they interview me about him on the yacht, And so for this instance, it was kind of like not the peak for him, but it was like when he was like
on the way up.
On the way.
Yeah.
So so now when we first saw Dan, it was like kind of like somebody that we knew, cool. But now it was like, oh shit, Dan is an actual celebrity.
Yeah. Now Dan's fucking
not just like
global.
So so everybody knew him, and he wanted to land. We had these girls on the helicopter, and he wanted to land on the yacht. So as we're taking off from Santa Monica, fog starts rolling in, and I'm sitting in the back. My friend and Dan are sitting, pilot and on the passenger, and I'm sitting in the back with a few girls, and of course everybody's excited. We just want to land. As we take off, you start seeing the fog, and I mean, I'm not a pilot, but I've flown so many times that I know this is not okay.
Yeah.
And of course, we're trying to make it happen, and we take off, and we're just kind of going, and we're going slow. And there's as a helicopter pilot, you're rated, there's two types of ratings. One is you're rated, like as an instrument rating where you can, or the other one where like you pretty much get rated, like if you don't have any instruments, you know how to handle it, right? So if I've been in, on test flights where we were testing that, and I'm like, holy shit, this does not look good. And of course, Dan is like with his phone, is just excited to land.
He doesn't care.
And I'm just like, my friend is telling me on the thing, is like, he's like, Diego, look for fucking sailboats on the, and I'm like, dude, I was almost opening the door because we were flying low.
Yeah.
We were flying so low, even the people at Marina Ray called the cops.
Oh, okay. Because it was too low.
Because it was too low.
Yeah.
So then I turn to my left and I see the mass of a sailboat. I'm like, holy shit. Like you can't see anything.
Damn.
And we can barely see like a little bit of the boat. Can you imagine? And I said, this is not good. I said, and I told him, I said, dude, pull up. Because I knew that you just got to go up.
Yeah, above the.
Otherwise, if you don't go up above the clouds, fog, then you lose
visibility,
orientation.
Yeah, okay.
Because when you're flying a helicopter, you sometimes, which is what happened in different scenarios, you lose the visibility, and you lose the orientation of how you are with the helicopter, and then that's when accidents happen. Luckily, my friend is a good fucking pilot, and I thank him for this. But he, as soon as he saw that we were kind of close, he pulled up above the clouds, and we had kind of like the social pressure of like,
we gotta land this on the fucking
yacht because of Dan.
Yeah.
But then you get to a point,
you have to do the right thing.
You have to do the right thing as a pilot, as a captain. You got to do the right thing. So it kind of sucked. We didn't get that. We went back to the airport. People were waiting for us on the yacht, but then we drove to the boat and we had a good time.
Hey,
and that was that. But yeah, that was the story.
Well, people like that are always gonna want what's best for social media, what's best for the flights, what's best for the look at me, like I just landed. Because even me hearing that story initially, I'm like, fuck, I want to land a helicopter on a yacht,
And I think
at the same time, bro, I don't want to die doing it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so I get that, man.
Now if you put that situation into perspective, you can relate that story, but now relate that story to Kobe. Now, so then you imagine the pilot in that situation where you're flying Kobe, right?
Kobe's probably, we're making it to this fucking game.
Yeah, exactly. So Kobe's like, dude, let's do it.
Yeah.
Now, there's a few things about what, I mean, you can go on and on about that situation, but there was a few things that as a helicopter owner or somebody that's flown a lot, something that you never do, especially if you have a twin engine helicopter, and especially the helicopter they were flying, he should have never been flying with one pilot. So he was flying with one pilot.
I didn't know the helicopters have multiple pilots.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have, yeah.
I actually didn't know that.
And I mean, of course, there's so many things you can do with helicopters and anybody out there and if anybody sees this, if you want to meet a real pilot, meet a helicopter pilot. They you know, they know their shit.
Are built different.
Yeah, they're built very, very different.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that, you know, you can get into as far as crazy stories, you know. So then, I mean, that's one of them. And I mean, I don't know how much time we have, but
I mean, you know, we're gonna have to wrap it up pretty soon. But you know what, bro, Diego, we're gonna have multiple episodes, so don't stress. We're gonna get the stories in. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about why do you live in Miami, bro?
Miami. Well, I mean, you know, it's interesting I really never thought I would be living in Miami.
You're a West Coast boy.
I was in the West Coast, and I get hot very, very easily. I remember the first time, this is actually very, very funny. First time I am in Miami, and this is actually advice for anyone out there that likes hot, spicy food. If you come to Miami and it's summer and it's humid, do not eat spicy food. Do not eat a soup. Do not eat anything spicy. Stay away. So I'm in Miami, literally first time, and I meet this girl. And not only that, she's half Indian. So, guess what? Diego here is trying to, like, you know, be cool. And I'm like,
we'll go eat Indian food.
I'm going to take her to like a new Indian restaurant. So, I'm in Miami. Who the hell thinks about taking someone to an Indian restaurant? But
that's the worst idea.
So, I go to this Indian restaurant. And this girl was beautiful. I mean, it was like, I would look at her and she looked like the girl from Aladdin. I mean, it was just like, wow. I was like, you know, and so we're like just having dinner. And of course, the server comes.
Would you get the butter chicken?
Yeah, I get like
butter chicken
and then they're like, so, you know, from 1 to 10, how spicy do you want? I'm like, dude, my family's from Mexico, like 10, you know, like, and then they're like,
rookie mistake,
yeah, and it's like,
rookie mistake.
And then she's like, 10, you know, like, dude, 10. So next, you know, we're just having a laugh. Everything's good. So dish comes, I take the first bite, and it was like, holy shit, dude. I mean, I was trying to fake it, like nothing was happening.
Shit. I'm gonna be right back, though.
There is no way. No, there was no right back. I was like, I'm just gonna, but I couldn't. I mean, as much as I tried, I started just, and not only that, we're sitting outside, so it's humid as like it's bad, man. It's bad. I was wearing this shirt. It was like, I remember it was like a salmon, like, you know, thin shirt.
Oh, bro.
Oh,
the pits are just,
dude. I mean, everything just like,
you can't wear that, bro.
I mean, dude, it was like, and dude, I knew that it was a bad situation because I turned to the kitchen. Everyone was watching me. Like all the cooks were just like laughing at me. And so I go to the restaurant. I was just like, dude, I just couldn't stop.
I got a story like that too, bro.
It was, yeah. So if you come to
And
Florida.
I'm Indian.
Yeah.
So I should be able to handle the 10,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
No.
No. Do not mess around.
I tell them mild or medium.
Yeah.
Because I'm not playing. I like spicy food, bro. But these motherfuckers, they're like, oh, yeah?
Yeah.
They're like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, I'll show you,
Yeah.
motherfucker. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So it's not, yeah.
No, but going back to Miami, though. Beyond this funny-ass story, talk to me about your relationship with this city.
I mean, it just happened that I mean, I loved being in California and San Diego, LA, but what took me to Miami was actually a magazine. When I used to work for a local company in San Diego, and I wanted to learn about selling yachts, I was working for this company based in it was behind the Marriott in San Diego. And my job was to, is to work on Sundays. Yo, look at this.
Shit, we got
That's my assistant's dog.
Oh, okay.
And
it looked like a cat at first.
No, it's like anything you want. It's like, literally, when she first got that dog, I was like, I couldn't figure out what it was. And somehow, after all these years, my assistant's been working with me for about 10 years. When she got that dog, I almost broke up with her. I'm like, there's no way that thing's a dog. But man, when you spend time with that guy, it like grows on you. You don't know what it is. Is it like a possum? Is it a rat? Is it a dog? But it's cool.
This podcast has officially gone off the rails. We've lost any kind of normal structure and stuff. But you know what? That's what we do on a Sunday deep, bro.
And also, like you said, we wanted to loosen up, but this is too much. This is too loosen up.
We're just getting started, man. We're just getting started with the looseness, bro. But look, I want to kind of start to wind down and wrap this up. I do want to talk about super yachting. What's the difference between a super yacht and a yacht?
Well, the difference, there's a lot of different things, but I think a yacht is probably something that can be owner operated. So somebody can, as an owner, they can jump on their yacht and go out and start cruising.
Super yacht, you need a captain.
A super yacht, that's when you really can't do anything by yourself. You gotta have the right crew and you gotta have the right people that are handling your yacht, so then you can be a rock star at whatever it is that you do.
Okay, on average, what does that cost? What is if I want, on average, I'm a multimillionaire, I wanna get me a super yacht. Give me the cost breakdown. What does that look like? Well,
I'm actually dealing with a client now, and it's just,
it obviously depends. I know there's a range.
It really depends.
Just on average.
The best rule is for you to use the 10% rule. 10% of whatever the value of the yacht is an average how much you're probably going to be spending. Now, of course, in a year.
Got it.
Now, it comes down to the client, right? It comes down to the owner. If you're the type of owner that is super laid back and, he's not very concerned about service and how his boat is run, for example, there's owners that can go on their yacht, and if the teak is old, they don't care. It's like, oh, I'll change the teak whenever I have to change it. There's people that see maybe a little thing and the paint is, and they're like, don't spend it. It's fine. There's owners that as soon as they see it, change it. Like, go. So like, of course, those type of owners are going to spend more, and you have the other owners that maybe if your yacht is supposed to be run with, say, 10 to 15 crew, you might be the owner like, oh, well, I want to run my boat with 7 crew. So then, you might be able to save money on crew as well. But
It
anyone
seems
that,
wild to me that people who are buying yachts are still cheap.
I don't think that it has to be with being cheap. I think it has to do with where they come from. If it's someone that is new money, or is someone that made money, it's self-made, then they take care of their money more.
They don't spend in excess for no reason.
Yeah, they because anybody that's self-made, they know the value of money, right?
They were in the gutter.
Yeah,
They knew what it's like to have
so
nothing.
they know that they could, they know that whenever they didn't have money, that okay, but I can negotiate and I can do this. But somebody that maybe, there's a difference between being rich and there's a difference between you being wealthy. If you're wealthy, you don't know the difference of negotiating 10% off or, negotiating 20% off, because to you, time is more valuable than negotiating. So if you what's going to cost you, the time that's going to cost you to negotiate something 10%, you probably are
It's not worth your
it's
time.
not worth your time.
Yeah.
So like what you're really looking for as somebody that has wealth is do things right, serve me right, and I'm willing to pay.
Don't waste my fucking time.
Don't waste my time. I'm willing to pay, but do things right, right?
Okay.
Now, the person that tries to negotiate, they might take that risk of somebody doing things wrong, but they're going to save that money, right? So like if and you got to put everything into perspective, like I do. And we can go as, like, let's just use Chipotle as an example to go to that. When you go to Chipotle and they tell you, do you want extra wok?
Always.
Always. Now, for you, how much is that extra wok?
I don't know.
It might be
Doesn't matter.
$1.50, $2, but to you, irrelevant, because it's $2, and that $2 to you is nothing. So you got to put yourself in somebody that's wealthy. To them, it could be wok.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good way to look at it.
So it's just like, put wok in my burrito. Just fucking make it good.
Just put it.
Just fucking do it.
Throw the extra steak
just
in there.
throw it in there.
Don't tell me.
Don't tell, like, just.
I don't want to talk about it.
Dude, sometimes, if you've been to a Chipotle so many times, do you really, when they ask you, do you want extra wok? You're like,
Stop.
Why are you asking?
You're wasting my time even asking.
So
me. That's a great analogy.
Imagine putting that as a wealthy person. It's like, don't tell me what the price is. Just do it right. You know what I mean?
They just have expectations as to how the process goes.
Yes.
Don't waste my fucking time.
Don't waste my time.
Don't be weird.
Yes.
Don't talk to me about money.
Yeah.
I got it. We're good for it.
We're good for it.
Newer money, meticulous money, people who are trying to cut every fucking penny, those people are going to give you more of a hard time.
And you can put that into any. So I'll give you another example. I had clients that want to go out on their boat and they say, I want to take a captain. Please give me a captain or this. So guess what? I have a captain that's charging $1,000 per day, and I have a captain that's charging $300 per day. So guess what? The captain that's charging $1,000 per day, he knows his worth, right? He might have the proper license, insurance, anything to keep you safe and your guests safe. The guy that's charging $300, it might be someone that just started out, you know? So guess what?
Whatever.
The guy that charged $300, he might have gone out. Next thing you know, he didn't know the area well, hits your props. Now it costs you $40,000. So for you saving $700,000, now all of a sudden it costs you $40 because
$700 could cost you $40,000.
So then it just comes down to saving time, and just doing things right.
I have another question for you. So you work primarily Miami, Monaco, Mexico, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So why?
Well, I mean, it has to do with something that I learned is that when it comes to something like what I do, which is yachting and representing clients, consulting clients on the sale charter of and new builds of yachts, there's only so many hours in the day that you have, and there's only so much time that you have to represent these clients. So sometimes I think it's interesting that you see some people on social media or even on websites, and there's this guy's like, I represent clients all over the world, and I represent clients, and I'm just like, that doesn't make sense, because
how can you manage them all well?
you can't. And I learned that even when I was in San Diego. I had a client that came from China. It was a Chinese client. And I was sitting down at lunch with them, and it was their translator and 15 Chinese guys. And I'm sitting there and I can't understand a fucking word they're saying. And it's just like, and I'm like, wow. I said, this is how people feel when I talk Spanish with my friends. And, so since then, anytime now I go out with a friend that doesn't speak Spanish or doesn't speak the language, like
you speak English.
I speak English, and I feel that people need to respect that because it sucks.
Yeah.
Whenever they would laugh, I would laugh, and whenever they cheers, I was like, it's like,
yeah.
So like, but then that alone, I learned that I didn't want to do this just to be working with anyone just for the money.
Yeah.
I wanted to work with people that I really wanted to represent, So I, I really love what I do, and it's awesome. Yeah.
I want to cover something before we wrap up the podcast because it's special to me as well. It's one of the reasons I actually came to Miami. You might not know this, but, coming down here with my business partner, Jamie, who's been shooting your TikToks and doing all that stuff, has been really cool because I actually had no plans to come to Miami, right?
Yeah.
But then he tells me, yo, this Diego guy's pretty fucking cool. And, F1, the Grand Prix is going to be in Miami in May. You should come. Let's make it happen. I'm like, fuck it. I was living in Colombia, as you know.
Yeah.
Life was good. I'm in Medellin. I'm chilling. I got no complaints.
Yeah.
So I come down to Miami. I come to this event that you have a very big part in making happen. Talk to me about Sunset Miami. I want to hear the story.
Wow. Holy shit. I mean, how many hours do we have now? No, I try to. Okay. So Sunset Monaco, Sunset Miami. So Sunset, it's an event that's been going on in Monaco. And it's the only event in the world that is tied to Formula One. There's no other event in the world that is tied to Formula One, especially in Monaco. Now, if you see anything about F1, no matter what, anything you see, if you ask someone, what is the coolest race of the year, of the calendar, it's Monaco.
Has to be.
That's it. Monaco is a place that brings everything together, brings wealth, brings the lifestyle, yachts, helicopters, cars, everything you can see, as far as lifestyle goes, as you getting to the pinnacle of your life and what you're supposed to be buying or representing is Monaco.
Damn, that's one way to put it, bro.
It's insane, it's insane. And I mean, the time that I went to Monaco for the first time was actually by mistake. I should have never been there. And the only reason I ended up in Monaco is because I chartered the yacht that I told you with the helipad in San Diego. I chartered that yacht in San Francisco for the America's Cup, right? It was the Louis Vuitton, America's Cup. I did this charter, which if the guy's watching this podcast, he owes me money too. Like that guy, I still haven't forgot. He owes me money. I will.
Diego's money, bro.
Please, dude, you better pay me. I swear I'm coming after you. I swear. This guy took advantage of me when I was barely starting, and he like took my money and went with his girlfriend to like on a vacation with my money. So I'm coming after you. I'm not going to say your name, but just know.
Hey, man.
So anyways, But I go to the America's Cup and I charter this boat, for, it was for American Express. And then they called me and said like, hey, Diego, come to this charity event. There's an auction, blah, blah. You just got to get a jacket. Dude, this was when I was just getting started. I go to Sarah and I get a jacket and I go to the yacht club in San Francisco and they're auctioning off 4 tickets to go to the Grand Prix in Monaco.
Holy shit.
Holy shit. So I'm there with my buddy, from San Diego who owns the yacht. And I'm like, dude, come on, let's bid on this. So we're like both bidding. Dude, that just shows you somebody's ego. We were bidding for the same thing. He outbid me. For what? But like, anyways, we still won it. Right? So next thing you know, I end up in Monaco. And so I won these tickets to the Grand Prix to watch the terrace, from, right on the track. After the race, everybody was saying, hey, see you at sunset. See you at sunset. See you at sunset. This is my first time in Monaco. I had no idea, right?
You're just going along with it.
I was just going along like, oh, yeah, I'll see you. Yeah, I'll see you at sunset. Yeah. So I'm thinking like, what's sunset? I mean, where's the sunset?
Yeah.
So like next thing you know, we take this boat, we take this tender and they drop us off at the best party in Monaco. So I show up and it's just like right on the beach, just music, like the music that I like, which is kind of disco vibey. Like, it's not, like anybody can go, anybody can dance to it. You're going to have a good time. So I went there, and since I went to Sunset for the first time, every single time I would go to the Grand Prix, I would end up there. I would go to Sunset. So Sunset,
how many times have you gone?
For the last 7 years.
7 years.
7 years, yeah. And
straight business expense.
Business and pleasure. Yeah. And of course, I mean,
I'll be there next year with you.
You better. Yeah. And so I met a good friend now. I mean, met her for the first time, but now she's a really good friend and we work together. And she works with the owner of Sunset. And so I said, as soon as they announced that they were bringing F1 to Miami, I was like, I got to bring Sunset to Miami. So what I did is, as soon as they announced it, I went to the marina, Island Gardens, which is the best marina in Miami. And I rented the marina for 3 days. And they asked me, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know yet, but I want it. And, so I'm like waiting. And then I started this conversation with the owner of Sunset. His name's Tom. And this was
shout out to Tom, man.
Shout out to Tom.
That's a cool motherfucker.
He is cool. And also, man, you got to give him all the credit because, he started also, he has a great story. And also, he's the one that came up with the idea, to have Sunset in Monaco. So for the last 10 years that he had Sunset Monaco, now you got this guy from Miami trying to convince him to bring Sunset to Miami.
And how much notice did you have to throw this event?
We put it together about less than 2 months.
That's ridiculous, by the way. And that's one of the reasons why I have so much respect for you, Diego, and why I'm like, this guy's a real fucking deal, and he's a real psychopath, and he's real crazy. Yeah. Just like me, like I want to do something, I'm just gonna do it.
Just do it.
And I love that shit, bro, because I went to this event, I experienced this event, and I'm looking around, I'm like, this shit's probably been going on for 20 years. You fucking around this shit, man.
Dude, him and I met late. No, we didn't meet. Dude, him and I met in January. And then in January, he's like, no, Diego. He's like, no, let's just wait for 2023. And I'm like, no. I said, we have to do it this year. And this was in January. February came. February, he still didn't know he wanted to do it. He's like, Diego, if we do it, we just got to find the right team. So I'm just like, all systems go, man. I was maybe sleeping like 3-4 hours max.
And my business partner Jamie was here with you during this time period of just madness. I heard some of the stories of just like the shit that had to go into planning an event. And people, when they look at events, they only look at like the end product.
Yeah.
Like, oh, cool. They had this, and they had this DJ, they had cool boots and whatever. Bro, when I came to Miami, this deck, or whatever you want to call it, whatever, was like not set up.
No.
There's 2 days left to this event.
No.
And you guys got it.
And a lot of people didn't know. But Tom, I mean, if Tom's watching, he's going to find out. But a week before the event, we did not have a permit. We had no permit. And Tom is still in Monaco. He's about to fly in. And they're like, Diego, you should really tell him. I'm like, no.
No, we're going to get it.
I'm like, do not tell him. He's like, so what are we going to do? I said, the security, everybody wants to get paid. If we pay them, we can't get a refund. And if we don't get a permit, then, and I'm just like, it's like all systems go, man. Press that red button. I'm like, pay everybody. And I was in a situation where I was like, wow. I'm like, this could go anyway, but, it's one of those things. And yeah, I'm not Elon Musk, but let me tell you, it felt like I launched my first rocket, and it's just, and that rocket, you know how Elon Musk, the first rocket like took off, just blew up.
Yeah.
The next one took off, didn't land. Well, let me tell you, this felt like it took off and landed. So
yeah, absolutely, bro.
I am happy, and I'm really, I'm really looking forward to, doing Sunset the next 10, 15 years. That's going to be in Miami.
I look forward to being there, dog.
And it's only going to get better and better.
Absolutely. Man. Bigger venues, crazier shit, wilder stuff. But I thought for the first one done here in Miami, you really outdid yourself. Fucking very impressed with it.
Thank you.
It's probably, maybe, for some reason or another, has some kind of something to do with me living here now.
There you go.
I got to see like, oh, this is Miami. I like it. I kind of like it.
And it was interesting. So I spoke to Jamie, your business partner, and Jamie at the time was living in LA. And I'm talking to Jamie, and Jamie's like, no, man, I really love LA. Just the people, it's just people that think like me, people in the industry. And I just get this energy from LA. And I'm like, this guy has not been to Miami.
Trust me.
He came here. He's like, hey, Diego, so, I'm staying here for another 3 weeks. I think I'm going to extend. And it looks like my business partner's coming. And it looks like we're going to get it. I'm like, shit.
Miami takes you sometimes.
And then
bro.
Now what? Didn't you just sign a lease here?
Yeah, we just signed a lease here, bro. Well, we're Miami mans now. Shit, I love this place.
And there you go. I mean, it's interesting how little moves can change a big part of your life.
Bro, just being here in Miami, I've already signed 3 clients. Literally just not even doing anything, just being here, physically here, meeting people and whatnot. It's just crazy. I'm just like, okay, well, that paid my rent.
Well, but not only that, and I feel like, some people see Miami as a, like, oh, it's just like party. Right?
No, absolutely not, man. It has something for everybody.
And it's like people that live in Vegas. Do you think people in Vegas just gamble every day and are in the Vegas Strip? No. You can go somewhere and live a balanced lifestyle that brings you everything. Now, I feel I've been very, very lucky to travel around the world. And I gotta say, Miami has everything. And I feel that Miami, it's a good reward for somebody's success and for somebody that actually wants to live.
Boom.
If you actually want to live your life, Miami is a good place. I
couldn't agree more, brother. The final topic before we finally wrap up this podcast. I know we've been going for a long time now, guys, but it's been a fun one. I want to talk a little bit about the social media stuff. How are you finding creating content for TikTok, Instagram. I remember the first convo I had with you. You were very scrambled about it. You had a lot of mixed emotions about it. You have a lot in your story that you weren't even able to tell in a 2+ hour podcast. You know, how are you finding creating this content and the results so far?
Well, I mean, I gotta tell, you know, everyone out there that is looking to, you know, I feel like in the beginning, you know, people probably would see social media as a place where you're just going to waste your time, because you can get in there, and of course, you know, you can get in there and get lost. You know, you can start scrolling on different things and get lost in that aspect of social media. But if you are someone that knows what you want out of it, then is a very different story. Now, just this year, I decided to really start showing face. Because what I started seeing in my industry is there's a lot of, in my industry, and I say this, there's room for, and there's business for everyone. There's no competition, because what I do in my industry takes a lot of time. When you're representing a client and you have the best interest for that client, it takes a long time for you to actually give him your time and your undivided attention to close the deal. So for someone that's just going to be doing little deals, like, you're not doing it right.
You can't be part-time.
You can't.
You can't just be like a real estate agent who does a deal a year.
No.
You got to be in or out.
You got to be in and out. And there's a lot of aspects to yachting where you really got to take care of your client, because if you don't, that's when they say the best day of your life is when you buy a boat, when you sell it. That's not true.
That's bullshit.
That's bullshit.
That's one of the best videos you've done.
That is bullshit.
I love that.
Because it's just they just had bad representation. That's one. Or they got sold with the idea of buying a yacht when they bought something they couldn't really afford. So, you know, yachting is not cheap and yachting is not easy. But if you can afford it and you do it right, you would never want to stop.
Well, this is why I think that you're such a refreshing voice and image in this space, because I feel like it's one of those, like, those industries that has like gatekeepers that actually don't want it to be well known. Almost like Formula One was like 10 years ago, you know, where they actually didn't want it to be mass market. Right. They didn't want America to embrace it. Yeah. And now you're kind of blowing the lid open on that. And some people are probably going to hate you for that. And a lot of people are going to love you for that, because you're showing a different side of an otherwise like protected industry where it's like only for the elite, the rich, the wealthy, the people who can afford it. But you're showing that, hey, like, I loved this one video that we shot that you did. It was like talking about, you're like, I don't even own a yacht. Yeah. But I will represent my clients to the absolute best. Yeah. Depending on where they're at in their journey. Yeah. No one's talking about that shit, man. I love that. And so it's only a matter of time before it goes global. Yeah. And I'm very excited to be a part of that journey, bro.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be fun. And to be honest, that's, you know, if we go back, you know, to that question of social media, you know, is that looking at everything that was out there, from YouTube to Instagram to TikTok, everybody's just talking about how expensive it is.
Yeah, well, flexing.
I mean, it's just, that's
Look
not
how big my yacht is. Look how many feet my yacht is.
And it's just like, that's not a good way to put it, you know, because that just kind of just, you're setting yourself, like you're looking down at people, right? And I don't think it should be that way, because
you've been in the gutter.
Exactly.
Like it goes back to your story, right? Yeah. If that dude whose cars that you washed and the fleet of cars and everything that you did, if that dude looked down on you, like, who the fuck is this little Mexican kid or whatever the hell, like, you would have never had the opportunity to even explore the space.
Yeah.
And you might have never had a chance to get into what you're doing now.
Yeah.
So you're almost making it accessible to people and showing, hey, like you can do this.
And
here's the costs. Here's what it looks like. And here are the rules. Here's the no's and yeses. Like,
and it should be that way, because a lot of people look at yachting like it's I hate to use this word, but like people that have fuck you money, like, oh, I have all this money, I can afford a yacht. But it's not like that at all. What yachting is, it's really a reward for your success. Why? Because when you get into yachting, that means that you already so like if you look at when people make money, what do? First, they might, go to a more expensive restaurant. Then all of a sudden they might stay at a nicer hotel. Then all of a sudden, instead of flying commercial, they fly business class, first class. All of a sudden, now their business is doing way better. What do? You start flying private, because these are the little things as you are elevating and doing business that you start doing these little changes. Now, what do you do when you first start making money? You buy your first home, right? Then all of a sudden you're making more money. You have your second home, your vacation home. So all these little things that people think is like, oh, it's fuck you money. It's not fuck you money. It's a reward for you working your ass off. And people don't see it that way. Now, what do? It gets to a point where you already bought the houses. You already bought, you're in the stock market. You're already investing all this money. Now, it gets to a point where there's only so much money you can make in a lifetime. And
only so much you can spend.
Only so much you can spend. So what do? Look at someone like Steve Jobs. What happened? He worked his ass off. He built the most, the products that really changed the future of everyone, right? Everything that we use right now, as crazy as it sounds, it's all, it all just started with the first iPhone, right? So you got somebody that's working his ass off, and he got to a point in his life where he's like, wow, I worked my ass off. Now I want to build a yacht. And unfortunately, he was building a yacht, and he got to a point where he couldn't even enjoy it because he was too old, and he got sick and he passed away.
Yeah.
Now, but that shows you got to get to that point where it doesn't matter how much money you make, you need to spend it. You can't go to you can't, people sometimes, I hate to say, but sometimes people forget they're going to die. And you need to enjoy yourself, and you need to enjoy it. And yachting is, when you get into yachting, you never want to let it go. If you do it right, it's going to be a time where you're going to be very successful. And I'm sure you and Jamie one day are going to probably buy a yacht from me, because you guys are killing it, right? And it's going to get to a point where you guys are working so hard that you want that privacy. You want to be by yourself, and you want to be with the people that you love and the people you enjoy. And you want to wake up every morning in different parts of the world or in different views, and you're going to wake up and have breakfast. And if you have a family, you're going to know that your kids are sleeping in a cabin. And if you're going to know that she's there. If you were to just stay in a villa or stay in a hotel, your kids might be in another hotel room. They might go down to the pool by themselves, and then you don't have that unity. What yachting does for any successful person out there, it gives you that time with you and your family to actually really enjoy it. And some people probably have never experienced that, but when they do, those are my clients. Those are my clients. Yeah, that's it.
Diego, Luca, this has been an incredible podcast. I know we could probably keep going for 4 or 5 more hours and still not scratch the surface. But we will do many more episodes. I really appreciate you, brother. Everyone listening, just remember, it's not that deep. Go check out Diego Luca. What's your website? Shout out your social media.
It's at Diego Luca, and it's just Think Yachts, Think Diego Luca. Boom.
Boom. Love it. Thanks, guys.